Monday night, August 22nd, a Texas summer reaches the combustion point with live rock and roll hot enough to melt metal. Starring, from England, Raven, plus very special guest Metallica from Los Angeles. Also featuring Hammer. Jump inside and take a seat. Alright, we're so glad. Monday night, August 22nd, Harvey Hall on the East Texas State Fairgrounds, Tyler, Texas. Raven, Metallica, and Hammer. Advance tickets available at the Melody Shop across from Broadway Square Mall for only $5. $6 day of the show. So get your tickets now and get your share of the energy from Raven, Metallica, and Hammer. Monday night, August 22nd, Harvey Hall, Tyler. Presented for you with Rock in Mind by Ziegler Productions.
So, the first thing I want to ask you is a little bit about yourself, is that you started doing some promotion at the high school, South Garland High School.
Well, basically what it was is that we came out of the tech theater department at South Garland High School, which you and I went to. Vicki Tapp was the tech theater teacher, and I think there was only one tech theater. It was either us in North Garland or just us that had tech theater instead of just the drama department. It was tech theater. So somehow we stumbled into that. It was all the concert guys, everybody in the band T-shirts and shoulder-length hair and some dope smokers. We all ended up in that class. Well, it turned out that Vicki Tapp was a vocalist with her husband, Matt Tapp, and Matt Tapp is still to this day in the Stratoblasters, and I still know Matt and friends with him on Facebook. I've known them forever. And so that's kind of how that relationship came to be. We were learning how to build stage sets and make flash pods and, fog machines and all this stuff. And junior year, I ended up being the stage manager for not only the productions that we were putting on, like Fiddler on the Roof and Bus Stop and, all the different theater presentations, but, the South Garland Southern Bells Christmas show. And then they would bring in stuff like Lynx, so I remember we did, setting up the stage, doing the lights, but we helped Lynx out. And then, of course, we did Smothers Brothers. I got to stage manage the Smothers Brothers. And of course, now that was in the early 80s, and what was so cool about that is that I'm, old enough, as are you, to remember the Smothers Brothers TV show. So, I obviously knew who they were. And, of course, as a kid, you thought, man, that was corny, stand-up bass and the guitar and all that. But to stand off stage and watch those two play like that, that's when I really began to appreciate talent. It was like, oh, my God, these guys are incredible. You watched them, they're flawless. And so you really appreciated something other outside the scope of heavy metal. I started to see talent, so that was cool. So, yeah, we started doing that, and then just it evolved. We would go to different bands that, we knew and say, we know how to do these things. You want to work with us, and let's try to put a show together, and we'll handle the stage part of it. We'll, bring in the lights, bring in the stage stuff. We rented all that. And then we would build we would come up with the fog machines. A lot of that, I'm trying to think, the Dallas stage sceneries where we rented a lot of that. And, we would try to make a show out of it. Well, then one of the things that, really got my attention was bands that did their own music and they did it well. And the fact that there was no avenue at the time for them to play that, back in the day, and still to a great extent to this day, people want to, either the club demands cover music, or a lot of bands like today, it's a ridiculous offering of endless AC/DC tribute band, et cetera, so on. It's like, I didn't want to see that. So when a band like Sanctuary, which was Danny White's band, who gave you or sold you my tickets for Metallica, Sanctuary was damn good. They were like an Iron Maiden, and it was all original, and they caught me it was like, wow, I forgot where we were. We ran into them and met them, and we just immediately started working together, and it seemed to work. And the VFW hall that used to be, I guess it's still there. If it's not, with all the road construction, but on Centerville, past the old football stadium on Centerville. That's where we were putting on a lot of our shows. And I credit, Bittersweet. They were doing that in the late 70s, and probably like 1980 or what have you.
Yeah, so we established how you kind of, got your foot in the door. You kind of saw the talent, and you saw something that where you wanted to follow a path. So, I'm here reading this article on Performance Magazine, which I used to, subscribe to. Performance, which is an industrial magazine for the people on tour, national bands on tour. And it had a great little article here about you. Tell me how, did they talk to you? Did someone from Performance reach out to you?
Well, what was strange about that is that, I was in such a whirlwind with the show, with the Winter Garden show. And again, it was us just thinking that we could do anything back then. I don't know if it was Jimmy Wallace. I don't know who contacted that magazine and told them about us. It may have been Michael Left. It may have been Jimmy Wallace. It had to have been somebody with some clout because it wasn't me. I didn't know who they were. I had no idea who Performance Magazine was, but somebody of that level, at that caliber, like I said, either Jimmy's people or Beaver Productions people, somebody took it upon themselves to say, this kid's up to something. You need to come cover this, because that's apparently what happened. And so when we did the Winter Garden, it was one of those shows that, we were selling out the VFW halls. I mean, we were getting 500, 600, 700 people, as many as you could put in there, I mean, they were doing great. So then we go to the Winter Garden, and, we had Jimmy Wallace, we had Lucky, and it was a lot of fun. We had free beer. We tried everything in the book that everybody tries to do when they're young. But somehow that article was written, and I didn't know Don Waite from Adam until he called me about a week or two after that show, and I'd gotten the copies of the article, and Don called me, and he says, David, I've got two people that have read this article that just called me. He goes, one of them, you're going to get a call, because I gave him your number. It's Adams and Levine management for, they manage a band called Metallica on Megaforce Records and another band called Raven. And I said, okay, yeah, great. I've never heard of either band at the time. Nowadays to say that is unbelievable. At the time, nobody had heard of Metallica. So, he'll call you. And he goes, and I just got another call. He goes, have you ever heard of Bill Graham? I said, well, yeah. I said, if that's of all the promoters on the face of the earth, Bill Graham is the king. So that's how that came to be, I don't know, but that is the genesis of how we ended up with Metallica.